Yeah, Goth and Mortigan, you scoundrels! Good morning!
Okay, so I was on my way to the alternator place so I could fix my alternator or have it rebuilt on my van. And it was in the evening, it was already getting dark, and I think it was a comet, I mean it looked like one, went streaking across the sky. And it just reminded me of something that happened to me when I was a kid, or a young man, I guess you could say, or a kid. And it's a bit off the topic, but I figured it would be a good story to tell because my van is down anyways right now. So this all started in Steinbach, Manitoba, on the farm that I was raised. It was a 2-story farmhouse. And before I go any further, what's going to make this story very, very interesting is that it's 100% true. I can't state that strong enough, that this story is 100% true. So I lived in a 2-story farmhouse, and my bedroom was upstairs. And when you came out of my bedroom, you made a left turn, and you took about 5 steps, and then there was a flight of stairs that went down, maybe, 12, 13 steps, to a landing. And then you turned right, and then there was another 4 or 5 steps, to hit the main floor that went in toward the kitchen. Well, you need to know that because of what happened. So that night, I said goodnight to my grandparents, because it was my grandparents' farm, and I went to bed. And I would say at about 2:30 in the morning, I had to go pee. So I got up, and like I did hundreds of times before on the farm, in the farmhouse, I walked, out of my bedroom, turned left, took the few steps it took to get to the landing. And I got to the landing, and I froze. And I could not move at all. I was frozen. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. And what I saw was, standing at the top of the landing, okay, this is Max going to come down and try to get into the picture, but that's okay. Say hi, Max, to everybody so I can continue my story. I love you, Max. Yeah. Okay, you go down. So I'm stuck at the top of the landing and frozen, like scared. I've never been this scared in my entire life. And trust me, I don't scare easy at all. Not at all. I mean, I was in the military. I flew medevac. I've seen burnt bodies, dead bodies, mangled bodies. Like, I've seen enough that, I don't scare easy. And then on the farm, we used to butcher all of our own animals and stuff like that. So, you get hardened to all this stuff, right? You get used to it. There I am standing at the top of this landing, and what I see is this. Halfway down the landing, it's like this. 2 eyes that are glowing in the dark, a very, very mild yellow, and I can see the outline of the figure, and I can see that this is not a human. Like, this is not, like, in my mind, not real. Like, I'm going. So I was frozen there. I estimate about 30 seconds. And trust me, when something like this is happening, 30 seconds seems like an hour. Like, believe me, it's not a good feeling. And I think we startled each other, because I think it was coming up the stairs and I was going down, at the top of the landing, ready to go down the stairs. And after about what seemed like an hour, was only 30 seconds, I finally broke loose from my frozen posture. And I ran to the bedroom. And just so you know, I was about, I figured 12 or 13 years old. It's a lot of years ago, so I can't remember exactly. But I was either 12 or 13 years old. And I ran to my bedroom. I jumped under the blankets. put the blankets over my head. But now I realize, okay, I'm going to piss myself. Like there's nothing I can do. I'm going to piss. So in those days, the old farmhouses had the old slide up windows. And in those windows, they had 3 holes in the bottom of the window that had a little slat that covered the 3 round holes that went outside of the window. And you could open that board up. You young people won't remember this, but these older houses all had these. And you can open the slat up so you can let some fresh air in. Well, there was no way I was going back out in the hallway. No. So I took my wanker, I opened that thing up, I pulled out my wanker and I put it in one of those holes and I peed down the side of the house. I was that scared. So, to keep from pissing my bed myself, I literally peed down the house. So, closed it up again, jumped back under the blankets, and I stayed there till morning, until I could hear my grandma, because every morning grandma would make, in the cast iron frying pan, bacon and eggs for us, before I went out to do chores. And so, I gingerly looked around the corner. Now it's light out, so I can see a lot better. And, I get to the top of the landing and, nothing's there. Now, just so you know, in the wintertime, sometimes when it got really cold, like 30 below, the dogs were allowed to come into the house, because usually they stayed in the barn that was warm enough, but Grandma felt sorry for them sometimes and let them in the house. And one of the dogs would lay on that bottom landing. And when I would get up to go pee, well, you got to the top of the landing, I got used to seeing, because there was a little bit of light, I can't remember where it was coming from, but one of the other rooms. And the dogs, you would hear this. You'd hear the dog's tail hitting the landing. So, because the dog saw you, right? They can see at night better than we can. So you'd hear because it was a small space, the tail thumping on the top of the landing, and you could see his eyes sparkling a little bit, and they're a lot smaller and tinier, right? So occasionally we'd let the dogs do that just so they could be inside where it was warm. So I go into the kitchen and I ask Grandma, I says, so did you leave the dogs in last night? Which I knew damn well anyways, this was no dog. It wasn't the dogs. We had 2 of them. And Grandma says, no. And I says, I see, okay. The dogs, so you're sure the dogs weren't in last night? No, dogs weren't in last night. Did you hear anything? And they said, no. And do you know what? Both my grandma and grandpa are passed away now. And I never even told, to this day, I never told them. So this story is the very first time, other than my 2 children that know this story, that I'm telling you about this incident. And so I'm just asking all you guys, have you guys got something strange that's happened in your life like that? If it is, like if you're a creator, put a video out on it. I'd like to see it. Now, because of that, I've always been an amateur artist. So I'll show you what I kind of seen. But the picture I'm about to show you that I drew, there's a few of them that I drew here. I've got about 60 pictures that I've drew over the last 30 years or whatever. It's a likeness of what I thought I saw, but it's not this bright. So this is what I saw. Okay, so I got to the top of the landing, and now the green part was a lot darker, but I could make out a large head, and I could definitely see the eyes and the silhouette. That's what you say, the silhouette of the alien's head, what I think is an alien or a gray. I couldn't see green. It was because you can't see color when it's a certain darkness. Humans can't see color. They see in black and white when the light is way dim or in the dark. Humans can only see in black and white. I don't know if you knew that, but because the eyes were glowing, I could see the light. They weren't this pronounced. I painted this to the likeness that I thought it looked like, and the angle of the eyes is correct. The eyes were a lot dimmer, and you couldn't see the green at all. That would have been a gray. So it could have been a gray alien. I don't know. So that's the truth. That's what I saw, and it scared the living shit out of me. So then, I do nebulas. I paint nebulas and stuff, planets and nebulas. So this all got me into the space thing because of what's happened to me when I was a young man. And this is just a rendition of what I saw again, but I couldn't see the teeth or anything. Like on the landing, I couldn't see teeth. All I saw was the eyes, the silhouette, and some of the facial bumps and the large head. But I don't know if you can see that. I drew that. Over the years, I've thought about what they look like, because I had a good, that's a comical one. What they possibly could look like, right? And then there's this one here, where on the farm we always had this pole with a light on it, and here he's crashed into the hydro pole, and is pissed off because he, like us drivers on Earth, we have accidents too. So I just want to tell you that story. It was neat, and now is the time to do it because my alternator is having problems on my van, so I can't be driving my van right at the moment anyways. Take it for what it's worth, but every word I told you is the truth. Let me know about your alien stories.